Okay, so welcome guys, welcome back. This is the fourth episode of Business Companion. And luckily we have a new guest, Apur. Apur is joining us
Woohoo!
from inside of Saasmic with the lovely background image, which I love, the painting. Uh,
Yeah.
and then today what we want to do is we actually had like this fun little interview that we ran a week or 2 weeks ago, sort of. So we'll go through two of those questions. It's about leadership buy-in. But before that, I actually just wanted to share something that just happened to me yesterday, I think, which I'm just interested in what you guys think about it. It was basically, so we are going on this workation to Valencia, and I was buying my tickets on Wizz Air, which is a Hungarian plane a company, or like, uh, and um, and it was just funny because as I was going through the buying journey, at the end of it, you have to always accept these privacy policy things and all of that. And on the last bit, I see this box to tick, which was basically, the privacy policy, LinkedIn and all of that. And first I tick it, but then I actually read through it. And to me, it was super interesting because it wasn't the privacy policy. It was actually just a newsletter for like hot deals and stuff. But the way it was worded, it was like, do you accept or I accept the privacy policy, LinkedIn, based hot deals and stuff. So it was, it was like a funny wording. It was, I think it was a bit cunning or like, even slimy maybe. And to me, it was super interesting because I was just thinking, they are basically trying to trick you into subscribing to their newsletter by, it looking like a privacy policy box. And I'm just thinking like, what do you guys think about that? Because to me, it's like, is it really a good tactic to like trick your clients into subscribing to your newsletter?
No, I don't think so. I think long-term impact is pretty bad. It's super sneaky. Like I would, if
Yeah.
I'm doing that, I would find it really awful that they're trying to do something like that. I wouldn't want to book from the same place again until and unless they're giving me a huge discount, which is not on the other websites. I mean, obviously that's there, but I would never go to that website again just because they're sneaky. I mean, there are
Yeah.
people doing things in a straightforward way. They're not stupid, right? They're doing it
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
have to be straightforward, and that's the better way to do it. So you want to give them the benefit of the doubt, like the companies that are doing it the correct way, to
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
basically, and you book from those. So yeah, for me it's that.
Yeah.
I think from the other perspective as well is we look at it from a marketing point of view. And I've noticed that when going through life, I look through the lens of a marketeer basically. But actually, there's not a lot of people that look through that lens. They like, I think 97% of the people that are booking on the flights, they're not looking at it from a marketing lens. They're just like, okay, just the box to just make my purchase
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is us who spot it because we're in this world,
Right.
but there's actually not a lot of people that think from that perspective, I would say.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think we're just like the percentage that would look at this and like argue about this. But I think a lot of people just like, I just need to get my ticket. Like, I don't care if it's a box or not a box, basically, if I'm in the newsletter or not the newsletter. So I
Yeah. But
think the feeling that you got of being tricked is not a lot of people compared to the amount of people that just don't give a rat's ass, basically.
yeah. Yeah, that's interesting because as I was buying it, I was actually on the phone with Shoma, who one of my best friends, and he's also a marketer. And he was like, because at first I was like, that's the slimiest thing to do. Like I would never do that because obviously people wouldn't be too happy about it, as Apur just said. But then Shoma was like, yeah, but imagine Wizz Air probably has such a big base of customers that even if like 2-3% is like, yeah, I'm fine with it, it's still a major opportunity to like upsell people or cross sell people or whatever. So even if like most of them don't like it, you will probably get a few people who are like, oh yeah, I'm not sure when I subscribe to this, but I'm getting good deals, so yeah.
I think it's even the other way around. I think 97% didn't even notice this. And they're like, oh, just click on it and then just go forward with it. And then 3% might complain about it. And then the
Yeah.
question is the 3% that will complain about it and the risk, of course, you're taking? Because if you're going to risk like legal suits because one person is going to sue you for this whole thing,
Yeah.
that's another thing. That's the risk as well.
Yeah.
But like, if it's just the risk of 1% that's going to complain about this box, then it opens up like, okay, what do you do with 99%? Because for me, always like, I always wondered who clicks on the first Google Ads, basically. Like if you go and search for it, like who clicks on that first button, basically on Google Ads. So it's like, I'm just going to the first SEO result, not the Google Ads
Yeah.
result, unless it's really specific. And then I sat to a bunch next to a bunch of people. They're just clicking on the first thing.
Yeah,
They
they're
even
like
type
happy
in
with
the
it.
name, and then it's not the website they're looking for. But they first they still click on the first thing. I'm like, no,
It's
it's not
just like
the website you're looking for.
it's just like a branded ad for the same search term and stuff. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even to the furthest extent where I had a recent example where I told somebody to make a CV in Canva, and I said, okay, Canva is a tool, just make your CV there. So they typed in Canva CV template, basically. So exactly what you need to do. And then there was a search result, like a Google Ads, which was not Canva. It was some kind of, I don't know, PDF or CV creator tool, whatever it was, which was not Canva, but it was really inside the keyword Canva. And then they ended up making their whole CV inside this thing to, I think 1 hour later to realize, hey, I'm trying to export this and you told me it was free. And I'm like, yeah, it is free. It's like, but you're not even in Canva.
Yeah, that's not Canva, dude.
That's not
Yeah.
even Canva. So they made the whole CV in this thing without them realizing that they were not in Canva, basically, because they typed it in and they thought, oh, it's the first search result. So boom, I'm there. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I guess why it was interesting to me is just that I saw the way that they were wording it, and what it reminded me of, and I'm sure you guys see this all the time as well, is that now that the cookies, you can't keep them for as long with the new iOS changes and all of that. It seems like all of the companies are trying, and like GDPR in Europe as well. It just seems like a lot of companies, instead of coming up with, I would say, maybe better ways or more customer focused ways of like getting these insights or getting the information of your customers, they're just basically trying to trick you. So like now when you go on these sites and they have these cookie banners, you have to literally, like in a lot of cases, I'm sure you guys see this all the time, you have to literally like crawl to a billion different cookie types, and you're like, yeah, I don't want these, I don't want these. And you have one click for accepting all of them, but you don't have one click for not accepting any of them. So you literally have to like go through all of them.
Yeah, and I've also noticed like some websites what they've done, and there's a very popular news website that has done this because I keep stumbling upon it over and over again because they have good articles. And what they've done is when you actually go to their cookie banner and click on reject all, you actually can't click it. It's there, but you can't click
Yeah,
on it.
yeah,
So you'll get frustrated, and once you're frustrated, you'll be like, okay, I'm gonna click accept all.
yeah,
So I think they've actually done it because at different points of time, I've seen that happening on that same website. So I have a very good like intuition that I think they have done this just to like make people accept cookies and just
yeah,
so that no one complains that there's no reject button. But yeah, that actually happened. I'm forgetting the name of the website, but if it comes up, I'll surely bring it
yeah,
up.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think, Ricardo, you were saying like just a week ago or something, we talked about this, and you said that like in a lot of cases when a company says, do you accept the cookies or not, and then you hit I don't accept it, they actually still track you. They just have this
Yeah.
button. Yeah,
Of course.
yeah,
Yeah, there's a huge amount of companies are doing that.
yeah,
Just you accept, and then, I mean, I have all these things on my browser to check all the cookies and all that stuff. So for me, I don't know, like normally you shouldn't see this, but when I go to websites and or decline and I see all these pixels still firing up because of my Chrome extensions, I'm like,
yeah,
ah,
yeah,
you sneaky bastards.
yeah. You're actually fucking still tracking me.
You're still tracking me. And then I'm checking, like, what are you tracking me for? And then it's like, oh, fuck. They're actually just tracking everything I'm doing.
Yeah,
So,
basically
okay,
everything
I
that you
see.
do. Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's why
it's huge.
it was just interesting to me, because I think there's always a balance of like you either try to be like I don't know, like be super not even nice about it, but just straightforward, and you're like, yeah, you can accept it, you can decline it. Do you want to subscribe to our newsletter, or you don't want to? And I think I'm not sure which one is the better. If like you're this super honest company who is like super straightforward with everything, and everything is super clear, or if you're someone who does what Wizard did, and you try to do these sneaky things, and you're like, oh, you're accepting our privacy policy, but it's actually our newsletter. And I'm just not sure if like which one works better in the long run.
I would say it's the Wizz Air that will work profitably because in the end, they're getting more people subscribed for their newsletter, right? Like
Yeah,
even if people don't know that. So I think they'll be the ones getting more results out of it, because whoever's honest, it's not like, okay, this guy's honest, so let me accept his newsletter, right? So even
yeah,
if someone's honest about them, you won't accept it if you don't want it. But unnaturally with these guys, you're already in. So I think like in the end, they'll be more profitable. I don't know if in the long run, I think yeah, they'll be the ones actually getting some results out of it.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me try to connect this to, or Ricardo, did you want to say anything else into this?
I was just checking because I remember in Belgium there was like this whole GDPR thing where every company had to have like a cookie banner by a certain date.
Yeah,
And I remember on that date, I'm going to the government's website, and I'm like, sure, they've implemented it, right?
yeah,
It's like they're just like everybody has to comply. You need to have
yeah,
this cookie banner and all these things. And then I remember going on that date to the website of the government, and I'm like, even the Belgian government doesn't do this. Like, even
yeah,
they're
yeah,
not
yeah,
compliant. It's like, what are you making us compliant for? And then you
yeah,
have these two streams of like one trying to be as holy as the Pope, basically. We
yeah,
need to be able to do all of this. And then you have the other stream, like, we have a cookie banner, just doesn't work, but it's
yeah.
there.
Who the fuck cares? Yeah, yeah. But I love that you have that in your mind. Like you know that there's a date from where you have to, from when you have to comply, and you're like, yeah, let me just check the government. I love that you have
Let
that
me see if
thinking.
they're compliant.
Yeah, these fuckers.
It's like the parents telling the kids you cannot do this, and then the next day they're like, you cannot eat cookies, and then the
Yeah,
next day they're
yeah,
just eating cookies in front of the TV. You're like, okay,
yeah,
what's the
exactly.
example here?
So let me try to connect this to actually our first question, or the first interview question that we wanted to go through. So um, the way I'm trying to connect it is, do you guys think that when something like this happens in Wizz Air, so someone does this, is it like something that marketing initiates and marketing is like, yeah, that's fucking cunning, let us just do this, and maybe leadership will, accept it? Or do you think it's more like leadership says, hey, we need to have more people, we need to upsell more people on our shitty deals or whatever? And then marketing is like, okay, how can I do that? So like, which way do you think it goes? Do they have to get the leadership buy-in for these initiatives, or is it more leadership pushing it and then marketing trying to comply with it?
Good question. I think it can come from everywhere.
Yeah,
It can come from both sides, maybe not articulated in that way. It's like we need to trick people into doing this, but it's more like, okay, we have certain KPIs, and mostly I think it starts from KPI setting from a leadership team.
yeah,
Basically, we have certain KPIs, sales, and then one of those KPIs could be newsletter subscribers or base, basically, and then they're looking, okay, how do I increase the newsletter subscriptions on the website? And then suddenly they're like, oh, there's not a lot of people that are subscribing when they purchase the tickets. How do we
yeah,
increase that? And
Right.
then it comes up, I feel. So it comes from KPI setting from leadership teams, and then it translates into some genius thinking about, what if we do this?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like the right string of events to me too.
Yeah, you just have to make it work, and then you're like, okay, what if we do this? Maybe that will work. Um, so the first question that we talked about last week internally was there ever an instance in your previous roles, or in Saasmic's life, when we were facing a challenge of getting leadership buy-in for a new marketing initiative, and then how did we navigate the situation? And we sort of answered this with a pour, and we'll get to that. But maybe Ricardo, if you can, we talk about this. Like, have we ever had this with any of the clients of like, an instance of something, a leadership buy-in needing to happen, but some challenge about the marketing action?
Almost always, I would say.
Yeah,
It depends on what level, but the level we enter, it's most of the time it's leadership. So it's almost every time, and it's always around budgets, basically. How much? Like the question is also like, how much budget do you need? What do you need? What kind of people do you need? How many people? For how long do you need them? All of these questions mostly come up, and like, okay, mostly it starts with, okay, we want to go from X to Y. That's it. Like that's the, I would say, big hairy goal, X to Y. and then what do you need to get there, basically. And then the translations come up, I would say, into, okay, like what kind of people do I need? What kind of actions do I want to take? Which kind of regions do I want to target? Which kind of, I don't know, whatever you want to do. So yes, we had to run a lot of business cases. Actually, I've never known that marketing was so associated with business cases, where you think like marketing is like, I don't know, when I was young, I was thinking, oh, that's creating a website, or
Yeah. Like a
what
nice
else?
brochure.
Like a nice brochure, like that's marketing. I would say, like a nice brochure, or a social media post, because I feel that's where I started, I would say, with posting dog pictures on social media, basically.
Yeah, yeah,
so,
yeah.
so for me, it was like, oh, this is marketing. Okay, this could be cool. And then there's this thing called Facebook advertising. It's like promoting, what was it, dog pictures? I remember.
Next
And
level.
then there was next level. I was like, this is marketing. And then once you get older, you realize, man, marketing is so much connected to finance. And then I've never ran so many business cases in the last 2-3 years than ever, because it's
Yeah.
one, budget is getting scarcer. And so you need to be able to prove what you're going to be doing and how you're going to be doing it. And also just the fact that everything has become more trackable, I would say. Like before, when you would run marketing 20 years ago, you would have billboards, and then you would have the end of the year sales, and then hopefully that increased. Now we can track almost everything. And now we're going back to the billboard age, where we cannot track everything anymore. Like we cannot track what size of your underwear you're wearing, basically. We're going back to the billboard age with the cookies and iOS changes. So it's an interesting time, I would say, for most marketeers, where the billboard guys, they couldn't come up with like, okay, now we can track everything. What's going on? This is super cool, but like we don't know anything about this world. And now you
Yeah.
have these performance guys that know how to set up cookies and tracking and all that stuff. They now realize, fuck, my tracking is gone. How do I, how do
How
I
do you prove the
monitor this?
value? Yeah.
How
Yeah.
do I track this? And then the billboard guy is like, yeah, we've been doing this for ages, man. We just put a billboard in New York and then not in New York, and then see what the difference in sales is, basically. So it's
Yeah.
funny
Yeah.
how you're going in through these ages. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I would say yes. A lot of things there's a lot more times where before you just get a budget, now you have to mostly run a business case to get extra budget, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, it's interesting that you said that when you were a kid or when you were young and starting out in marketing, you thought that marketing is basically like, arts and crafts. You're doing something pretty, you're doing an ad, whatever. That's basically it. But I don't think it's really related to you being young and then, being older and wiser. Because if you think about it, in most cases, people who run these businesses, leadership, whatever, unless they come from like a marketing background, often, especially in like corporate setups, often that's how they think about marketing still. So even if like, working 20 years, you're like, in your 40s, whatever, but they often still think about marketing in the sense of like, well, that's basically like doing something pretty. That's like doing a nice white paper. That's like doing a pretty ebook. And that's when it stops. And I think that's also why often with a new marketing initiative or like a new marketing action that we want to roll out, we will face, a challenge from leadership. We will face questions. We will be like, just challenged in the sense of like, do we really need this? It seems like a lot of money. And I think one of the key points here is to be able to prove that marketing is not an expense, but it's actually an investment. It's like, it's not something that you just throw out the window and you just have to spend on it, but it's something that if you do right, actually brings back more than what you spend on it. And I think that's like the key point that you have to be able to prove to leadership.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. To
What
what you
about you,
said.
Poor?
Yeah, just to what you said, Zoli, I think it also depends on how educated the company founder is around marketing. Like I've seen a lot of people who are good at business, but they don't know much about marketing, and then it's very hard to like let them know how this ebook or this blog will help you in the long run, because they're they value some things that are different, how they run their business, and not like this. So it really depends on how involved he is with digital landscape, and if he's reading around it or not. That really helps. Like if that person is doing that, he would know the value. He would say yes. faster, but if they don't, then it'll just take ages to like kind of get on the same page. But yeah, for
Yeah.
me, like, for me, like, in terms of leadership buy-in, it was a very interesting case. It was a payroll company. You know how competitive the payroll space is, especially in the US. They have like thousands of companies. And what's happening is it was so difficult to get them into SEM, majorly Google Ads, because the CPC was above $50 a click, right? So say it's sometimes it was $70 a click, and that's really high just for one click. And then they'll see result like probably one conversion when they spend $7,000. But that's what it is. That's what it was for them, and it was really hard to get them into it because they saw these numbers and they were like, "How do we like manage to like run such a large budget when we aren't even
Right.
getting enough clicks?" So we had to slowly like get them into YouTube ads. Like I had to tell them, okay, let's not do paid search ads. Let's do YouTube ads. It's 10x cheaper. It's like $3 a click. Let's see if we get any leads out of it. We had to run a long experiment, like a 3-month experiment to show them, okay, we are getting like, okay, we got like 5 leads in this amount of budget. And fortunately, like one customer actually converted from those five leads. So we were slowly able to transition them into search
Yeah.
ads by showing them what the LTV can be for one customer, like $35,000 or $40,000 over like 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's okay to spend like $7,000-8,000 on getting the lead, and that's how they kind of got into it. But still, it was a little bit hard for them to accept that. But they did start it and continued on with like a small budget, but they did it in the end. So that was like just a way to like get them into it by starting from YouTube
Yeah.
ads.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what I really like about that story is that what you're basically explaining is both sides of the coin. It's like one side is the leadership being a bit wary of the idea of like, do we really want to spend like a couple thousand on like ads? It seems like a lot of money and all of that. But then you also like the other side of the coin, you basically manage to prove that it's worth the money because you're getting the results which are like 10x the amount. So the ROI is like 8x, 10x, whatever. But then I really like that you're basically explaining the whole idea of, yeah, in a lot of cases, I think marketing, especially if it's not a lot of experienced marketers, you see them complaining about, yeah, we can't get anything because leadership is like, not giving us enough budget. And basically they just let us do these ebooks and all of that from a lot of my friends. And I'm sure you guys hear this too. A lot of my friends who are in like corporate positions, they always talk to me about, yeah, it's super difficult with marketing because like, up, like C-level, they don't want to give us budget. But at the same time, I think it's on a sense understandable because if you think about a leader, she or he has to be able to prove why they are, spending the budget on whatever. So if they are not able to show, hey, on a small initiative or like a small proof of concept campaign that it works, then why would they give you all of the budget? So like, it's always like, I think a balance of, yeah, you do need to get the budget, but then you do need to be able to prove that it's actually worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's
Marketers.
twofold, I would say, in that sense, because I think what you explain is, I would say, a short-term initiative. I would say it's 3 months, but it's a short-term initiative. Let's, for example, take building a website. How do you prove the ROI of that? Like, or do you just need a website in order to start the initiative that Apur mentioned? So there is certain things that you cannot, everything you do, you cannot trace back to,
Yeah.
do I need an ROI on it? There's certain things that you just need to do. And that is, for example, building a website, having a multi-language website is just something that you need to do, but it's marketing. It is a budget in marketing, basically.
Yeah.
And then the initiative of Apur aligns on, okay, how do we get people to the website to convert and all that stuff? So that is something that is the short-term initiative to get more budget, I would say. And that's why I'm saying is that how much does the leader really believe in marketing? So there's one part is where the leader believes marketing is the way we need to go. That is not something you can change. Either the leader believes marketing is an added value for the company or not. If it's not, as a marketer, run away. Honestly.
Yeah.
If the leader does not believe in marketing, run away. Or if you're not aligned on what marketing actually means,
Yeah.
you can still solve that, by the way. And then the other side, it's how well can the marketer communicate what marketing is about, I would say, and how it comes back to the business. How does the marketing guy connect the dots, as we call it in the podcast, and
Yeah.
back to finance? Because he needs to explain, or she needs to explain, okay, guys, we need a big budget for X, Y, Z because we're going to need to grow for X, Y, Z. Why do we need a marketing automation dude? Why do we need somebody building the website? Like, why?
Yeah.
Well, we kind of need this for the long term. So I would say it's both sides. I would say the
Yeah.
marketing leader needs to believe in marketing. Maybe he doesn't, like, it's also not the job of a CEO to know exactly how to run Google Ads, basically. That's
Exactly.
not the role. He has other functions to do, but he needs to believe in marketing. And then it's the marketing leader to explain what initiatives, why is that going to connect that to what we're doing, basically. So I think it's twofold, I would say.
But I think it's also about showcasing, the value, because it's one thing to explain it, because I think in often cases, what you see is there's a leader or there's a marketer who's able to explain why they're doing what they're doing, but it's one thing to be able to explain it, and it's another thing to actually show some results. And as you said, obviously there's going to be some, radical examples when you basically don't even get to the part of like being able to get a website done, because the leader is like, yeah, do we really need that? And without a website, you're not really going to be able to show anything. But what just came to my mind, I was just re-editing some episodes from Connecting the Dots with Max, the leader of Unmuted. And it's funny because I actually remember when I was studying Growth Tribe, one of the Growth Tribe courses, and I remember they talked about Max because I think Max was also studying at Growth Tribe. And what I remember is that he was working at this, I think, Dutch like car selling site. It was Mr. something. I can't remember exactly. A couple of years ago.
Yeah,
And
Mr. Green.
Mr. Green, yeah, I remember there was Green somewhere in there. So Mr. Green, and I think what he did was he wanted to like basically run CRO companies. So basically like, optimize the website and make the whole buying journey easier and whatever. And what I remember is that leadership didn't really let him do it because they were like, yeah, we don't need that, whatever, our direct sales is going better and all of that. And then I think what Max did, he just basically built the landing page on his own, and he was able to do a sale through the landing page that he built. And then he was able to show, hey, you see, this actually works. It makes sense. And I'm not saying everyone can always just go, over the heads of their leaders and just do a website on their own. But I think that's also really smart and like a really good example of you can actually still show in a small, proof of concept that it works. And then maybe leadership is going to be, more happy to give you a bigger budget.
I think that kind of brings back to the question of what is marketing to him. Like when you go to companies and you ask them about the marketing team, ask them about who's in the marketing team, and you will get like answers from across the globe. So you can have a company where you say, okay, yeah, for marketing we just have the copywriter and the marketing manager. That's the marketing team. But then you talk about who does the product, who does the website, basically. Oh yeah, that's in the product team, basically. Is that marketing? No. But some people have marketing and they have product inside of the marketing team. They have customer success in the marketing team. So it really depends what the marketing team really defines. Because sometimes you have marketing teams of 2, sometimes you have marketing teams of 20, but then it contains of products, customer success, whatever it is, because marketing can technically touch everything and nothing at the same time, I would say.
Yeah. You actually touched upon my next question, which is also my last question because we have about 10 minutes. But that was a really good connection to the next question, which is, do you guys think it depends on like the size of the marketing team to be able to showcase their value? So the question goes like this: in your opinion, how can marketing departments best demonstrate their value and influence, especially in a small to medium business, with limited resources? And do you guys have an example for that? So that I think that taps into what you started to talk about, like a small team.
You can go ahead up, or I'm gonna leave it one to you.
Yeah, I think a lot of it depends on what are the strengths of that particular company and playing to those strengths and stopping every other marketing initiative that you're doing. So, for example, if I don't have big budgets for, say, paid or SEO, but I do have a good amount of traffic coming to my website, I need to stop those paid efforts and SEO efforts, and I need to concentrate on maybe doing a lot more CRO for those guys, because they already have like traffic coming in, and it's like it's better to like optimize that traffic to get more conversions than like spending time on paid and experimenting with those things. Surely you need to have secondary channels. It's not that you just focus on one channel like CRO, but you need to have secondary channels. But you need to play to your strengths at a time like that, when you have a smaller budget or if it's a small
Yeah.
team. Once you're done with that, then you move on to the next channel. You make the secondary channel your primary channel and create another secondary channel, and then work the same way.
Yeah.
So if I think my SEO is better than SCM, I'll stick to SEO
SEO.
first,
Yeah.
and then make that work, and then switch over to SCM later. So I would
Yeah.
like just focus on one thing at a time and just leave out the rest.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point because my answer was as well is that I don't think it really depends. Obviously, if you have like, a huge budget and a lot of different people and like different skill sets, people who are really good at like building websites, quickly, people who are really good at copy, people who are amazing at paid ads, it's going to be obviously a lot easier to do it. But I think often you don't really need a lot of people to demonstrate the value of marketing. If I think about, not, we don't really do that a lot now, but if I think about like previous roles that I had in other agencies, I would often just, basically build social media presences or like, blog posts or whatever. So it didn't really take a lot of budget to be able to build up someone's social media presence. And, organically, you can already start building this thought leadership presence or like authority for the business. And then also, if you think about it, you can also set up like cooperations with other companies. So, if there's a business who does a lot of great marketing and they have a big budget and they are in sort of this a similar arena as you are, so like a similar industry or whatever, they have a somewhat similar audience. You can start these initiatives of like, writing blog posts together, whatever, creating something together. And then you can also almost use their budget and their audience as well.
I love these topics. So yeah, I would agree with both, to be honest. So I think one of the biggest things that marketing people fail at is they think they have to be on all channels, basically. Oh yeah, our competitor has Facebook, our competitor has TikTok, our competitor has this, X, Y, Z. And then they just they create one content piece, I don't know, a blog post, and then they just try to distribute that on all channels. Like, yeah, marketing job is done, basically. And that's such a horrible tactic. And I think you nailed it. Get one channel done very well and then jump to the next channel. The reasons why there's mostly no traction in marketing is because they just try a little bit of everything and all channels at the same time, and then like, yeah, we did our job, which is putting this blog post in Hootsuite and then posting it up, and then it's like, done guys, marketing, signing off. Sayonara.
Yeah.
Peace out. Yeah. So yeah, for sure, if you have a small marketing budget, focus on doing one thing very well. And this is also the leader that needs to understand, okay, which channel will work for this company. Let's just focus on that. Or which strength do I have? And then let's play out that strength. And I think for you, Zoli, nailed it in terms of, if you don't have a big budget, find somebody with a big budget and partner up. I would say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You use their channels and stuff, and try to use their
channels, their audiences indeed. And I think that the one I would add to that is, if you're not getting a big budget, you don't know what the company goals are. So what do I mean with this is that if the company says, I want to grow by 10x in the coming 2 years, and your budget is 1% of that, I think there's a misalignment there, basically, of you understanding the company goals. Because if somebody wants a 10x and your budget goes 1x, there's something wrong with how you communicate the value of marketing and how to get there. And then being able to say, if you want a 10x, my budget has a 10x as well. Maybe not 10, let's say 7 or 6. But then there's a misalignment on you understanding the company goals. And mostly it's that. Mostly it's like, okay, what's the company goals and what do I need for that? And if you don't give me what I need, well, I might as well just say sayonara. I was going to say naughty words, so I'm not going to do that. Maybe you can beep that out like in the American TV shows, beep. So, but I would start there. Figure out what the company goals are, see how ambitious they are, and then try to translate that back into, okay, if you want to get there, here is my plan to do that. And
Exactly.
for this plan, I would need X, Y, Z basically, because otherwise it just doesn't make sense. And
Yeah.
you will not. And the worst thing that a leader wants to hear, or a CEO that needs to decide a budget, is you will not reach that target if we don't do X. And that's when it opens the questions and the
Exactly.
answers to more budget.
And then also, if you think about it, like if a company doesn't really give any budget to marketing, what you could also argue is that perhaps they're spending all their money on like direct sales. And let's say that they just have a marketing team of one or a marketing team of two. In that case, what I would do as a marketer is I would spend a lot of time talking to the salespeople, because if they are getting all the budget and they have all the information and they're talking to all the customers, then, you know, likely they will have a lot of useful information for me, like, you know, voice of customer data, what are the feedback that the customers are giving them, and then I can basically come up as the smart guy who's like, yeah, did you know that the customers fucking hate this, or they don't want to buy this, or whatever. And then, you know, you can basically again leverage something that's, you know, not your budget. You're just basically talking to sales, you're talking to customer success, whatever. You're getting all of these, you know, useful information, insights from them, and then you can basically use that in your organic marketing activities, whatever that is.
That, or the marketing leader doesn't believe in marketing because your budget is zero compared to the sales budget, and then you kind of know that they don't really understand marketing, or don't really care about marketing. They just look at it as in the brochure guys.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
put
yeah.
it this way.
Arts and crafts.
The brochure guys. They're gonna create the brochure for the salespeople, guys,
Yeah,
and ta-da. So that's, I think, something to check then as well. Like, does the
yeah,
guy really, or the girl really believes in marketing? And
yeah.
what is his belief? What is marketing to you? I think that's also the question I always ask to the leaders. Like, what does marketing mean to you? If they come back to, oh yeah, you're the guys that do something with the website and the brochures, right? Sayonara.
Exactly. Okay, I think that was a really good closing, unless Apur, you want to add anything to that? Cool.
No,
Okay, I
I'm
think
good.
sayonara is like a really good last sentence for this. So once again, thanks a lot, guys, for you know, doing this with me. I think probably next week we'll come back with the next episode with some more questions on leadership buy-in and stuff like that. This has been fun as always. Thanks a lot. See you guys.
Guys,
Cool.
See ya.
ciao.
Bye, guys.
Ciao.
Bye.